What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Let's Glow Show. It's Amanda Sweet, the Creative Fairy Godmother. And every single week, sometimes we have some off weeks, but most weeks we bring to you a creative entrepreneur. And this week is just the same, but with a little special sauce from our special guest today, Lauren Giuliani. Welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, so you are a lifestyle photographer, but tell me the all of the words associated with what you do, how you do it, and how you bring so much color and life to the photography world.
Yeah, so I mostly focus on personal branding for female entrepreneurs and leaders, but I like to do it with more of a creative, kind of out of the box touch. Like there's a lot of branding photographers that everything's just kind of like simple and polished and like bright and white, which is nice. But I like to try to make it more like look like an editorial shoot in a magazine. So we're always like throwing things in the air, or like lately I've been experimenting with colored light, so doing like red light or something like that. So yeah, kind of taking a little bit more of a creative approach to branding photography for the entrepreneurs that don't need to look like so clean cut but still want professional photos, if that makes sense.
100%. I love everything I'm seeing. It's so like poppy, bright, like all like the props and stuff that you bring out. I love all of that. Where do you get your style inspiration from? Because you're right, a lot
Mhm.
of brand photographers are going for like the super street, like minimal look, which is
Yeah.
definitely classy. But there's people like me that are like, let's get weird, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, like my first like portrait inspiration always comes from fashion magazines. Growing up, I was always looking at Vogue, Elle, Bazaar, all that kind of stuff, and just seeing like the cool stuff they do. Yeah, just like I feel like to me, a shot where you're like standing in water with your clothes on, or like throwing fruit in the air, or something wild has always caught my attention. And yeah, I mean, today, obviously, there's Pinterest and a lot of other places to get inspiration. And then there's a couple of photographers I follow who are really cool. I don't know if you've ever heard of Marina Williams.
No.
She's a photographer out of Salt Lake City, and she started doing weddings and quickly just like moved into. She honestly just like started making really cool stuff, and now she does like education, and she has like retreats for photographers, and like yeah, she kind of just like started doing cool editorial stuff and then just like moved right into teaching other photographers how to do it. But her stuff is really cool. She's probably been in fashion magazines by this time.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think she even does branding. She literally just like teaches other photographers now, but her work is so cool. And yeah, she definitely inspires me.
Oh, I love that. How did you get into photography? Did you like, have you always wanted to be a photographer? Or is this like a transitional space? Did you fall into it? Like, where did photography come from for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in high school, I just took every art class ever and did like painting, drawing, like computer graphics, I think was one. And then I was like, I'll try photography. And it was a darkroom photography class. And I like immediately loved the darkroom. Like I actually don't know if I would have been as obsessed with photography if it was just digital.
Right.
Um, but yeah, from there, I think after like a couple classes, I was like, I'm just gonna major in this in college because I want to keep working in the darkroom. And my parents were like, what? Like, but yeah, I just wanted to keep playing in the dark rooms. I did that all through college, and then I graduated, and I was like, "Oh shit, there's like no dark rooms in the there like are some dark rooms in the real world, but not many." I'm trying to if anyone watching this wants to start one in Detroit, there was one for a second, Darkroom Detroit, and then they just like stopped. I don't know. I was really sad. I wanted to use their
I
facilities better.
mean, I'm just gonna throw this out there. Like a bunch of us are looking at the Russell right now.
Oh my God,
Like, it's
yes.
always been there and it's always been in the back of our minds, but like
Yeah.
so many more people now, and now it just, I don't know, so many more people now in my particular circle are like, oh yeah, I got a studio at the Russell. And now more than ever, it's like, oh, this feels like financially feasible for me instead of like running and buying a building. So I'm just throwing
Yeah.
it out there because, you know, you could go halves on it with like another photographer or something. And
Yeah. Totally.
it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. There's probably other people that want it. I'm just
Right. I just have to make it.
I know it's easier said than done for sure, but it's like, I don't know, that month to month at the Russell just feels like so like I was like, "Oh, we could just do 1 month pop-up. Let's just like buy it for a month and like see how it goes." And then if
Oh,
it
that's
doesn't work,
cool.
you
I didn't
know?
realize it was month to month. That's cool.
Yeah, it's all month to month. There's a couple other places that are month to month, like Bamboo is month to month, for example, but like I don't know, there's something like sexy and mysterious about and scary a little bit about the Russell. Like
Yeah.
hallway, and I was like, the energy down here is like given like we need to just ask them to leave. Just ask them to leave, or we will leave, which is what we did. We're like, okay, we're gonna go. Like,
That's
but
so
generally,
funny.
like the Russell's good energy, but that hallway was like spooky.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard some photographers will take their clients to their studio there. Their clients are, like, kinda scared, and they're like, "Where is this?"
yeah, I think there's like there's that point too where it's like the location is everything. And Labrie, my husband, always is like, "Well, is the Russell like the right for your audience?" And da da da. And I'm like, "The audience will come. We'll figure it out."
Right. They'll follow
You know,
you.
I don't know, but anyway, I okay. So, are you still doing like blacklight photography, or are you doing digital all now?
Yeah, I'm doing all digital, sadly, I haven't really done darkroom since college,
Sorry.
but I'd love to do, like, more fine art photography and just, like I think darkroom would just be more of a, like, passion, fun thing for me. I probably wouldn't do my business because it's just so, like it's so, like, you could easily lose a shoot by, like, screwing up the film. I mean, like, I only screwed up, like, the film a couple of times in college, like, I probably would be fine, but it's definitely nice to just have a memory card that you know you can just upload on your computer and, like, probably nothing bad's gonna happen to it, but
What has
yeah.
it been like being a photographer as like your main source of business in the city of Detroit or just like in any city in general?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, like, you'll have a couple months that are really good, you're like, "Oh my god, I'm doing it," and then you'll have a month where there's only, like, 1 client, and you're like, "Oh my god, should I start applying for jobs?" I mean, I hear most entrepreneurs, like, every other month, they're like, "Should I quit and do something else?" I think it's just, like, the eternal struggle. This fall, it's really good. Yeah,
Good.
like, right now, I'm, like, almost booked out, but then in the summer, it was really hard, so, yeah, it just depends.
Right.
But yeah, I think there are some avenues like weddings where it's easier to be, like, booked out in advance, and, branding is, like it's important, but it's, like, a newer field, and, like, you still have to kind of, like, do some work convincing people that, like, they really should invest in branding, whereas, like, weddings and engagements and family photos and maternity, people, like, already know they should invest, so, like, you have to do a little bit less, like, mindset work or, like, a little bit less, I don't know, effort
So
marketing kind of.
yeah, definitely like less sales. Like people are like, I'm
Yeah.
on the hunt for a wedding photographer instead of
Yeah.
people like I'm on the hunt for a branding photographer. I totally
Yeah,
get it.
that happens sometimes, but
Yeah. It's the people that are, like, thinking like that, and they're probably, like, in, like, a sales role or coaching role or something like that, but I
yeah.
can understand it being, like, really challenging. So what are some of the things that you've done to, like, combat that? You're like, "Okay, shit, I got a slow month coming up, like, how do I fight through this?" Like, what are you, like, out there networking? Are you, like, launching deals? Like, for our other, like, sales and service people, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely launching deals can help, like, launching mini sessions or, like, I guess, low ticket offers that are just, like, an easy price for people to say yes to can help. Like, I've had some success with marketing emails, like, sometimes when I send out an email, just, like I might create a cool blog post about, like, top locations to get your photos done in Detroit, like, something that everyone can kind of, like, take something away from, and then, like, at the bottom be like, "By the way, like, here's my next mini session," or, like, "If you would like to work with me, I'm, like, offering 10% off this month," or, like, something like that, and I will say most of the time that I send out an email, I get at least, like, 1 sale or, like, a few people reach out. So yeah, definitely, like, sometimes it can be quiet and you think that, like, no one needs photos, but then people actually do, and, like, you just need to bring yourself top of mind, and, yeah, there's, like, certain subscribers to my email list that I, like, would have literally forgotten about, like, they did a mini session with me 3 years ago, or they were, like, in a networking group with me, and then sometimes when I least expect it, one of them will be like, "Oh my god, I've been meaning to reach out, like, can we book a shoot?" And so, yeah, definitely, like, sending out emails can be good, and, like, yeah, a lot of networking. I've done, like, the Chamber of Commerce and also just, like, a lot of, like, one-off and, like, random networking. Like, there's just so many cool events in Detroit, like, yeah, events like Bamboo and Tech Town and stuff like that. Though I will say when you go to, like, a regular networking group, sometimes it can be even better because then people, like, keep seeing you over and over again. They're like, "Oh, yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you," whereas, like, the one-offs sometimes, like, they might forget about you.
I love it. I
Yeah.
will say your emails are always amazing, and I read every single one,
Oh,
and
thank
every single one,
you.
I'm like, "Fuck, I need to schedule something, Lauren." And, like, one of
Aw.
these days, it'll line up and it'll all sync up and I'll book, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, shit,
Oh
Amanda."
my god.
Because
Well, yeah, I
I'm
know
like,
you know, like I feel like you know, like, every creative in Detroit, so I'm sure you have just, like, a roster of, like, photographers that you've been meaning to work with.
I need to work with all of them because everybody does something a little different, and,
Yeah,
every single person you work with, like, teaches you something new, and, like, they know you know stuff that I don't know because you've worked with different kinds of people that know different things about being in front of the camera, and that's how to, like, really, like, step up your game, at least if you're, like, getting photographed. I feel like a lot of and this is just advice for people that are like, I need branding photos, for example. So how do you talk to a photographer? You reach out, but then also like experiment. Like, you should be paying for shoots. And I'm saying this for like, it's a PSA. You should be paying for shoots. I had a lot of people be like, oh, you're like a model and you do like you get photos. And I'm like there wasn't a word for this before, but they're just branding shoots that I was paying for. Literally paid
yeah,
every single one or did like a trade for something. And it's never like, it's not like I'm out here like with a modeling agent just like getting gigs. Like I'm like, hey, creative, like how much you charge per hour? Let's do a session. Hey, creative,
yeah,
how much you charge per hour? Let's do a trade. I'm not like,
yeah.
it's not like the modeling houses are like banging down my door, but if they do, I'm ready,
Yeah,
when
right.
jobs come, I'm not like cold and like you know what I mean. But
Yeah, there is a lot of TFP, which is like trade. It's like trade for print or time for print or like yeah, there are a lot of people that like end up just like doing TFP shoots and then they kind of get into that and then like once they get into that it's like hard for them to want to pay or like yeah.
hard to
And there's a lot of photographers that offer that. So like I think some people get spoiled by it a little bit.
My
But
suggestion to those of you that are, like, spoiled by it is, like, just don't be, and realize that both like, just don't be spoiled because the reality is, like, it is a gift, like, when you do get a trade opportunity, and it should be treated as such, and it should be, like, a mutually beneficial experience. And I try to tell people who are on camera this a lot, like, this is a collaboration. It's not like just you being pretty and somebody like capturing you being pretty. Like, you guys are creating something together. This is like a cohesive experience. There's somebody that's like got the vision, and then there's somebody that's like helping execute the vision. But it's not just like about the model. And I see a lot
yeah.
of models out there, and I'm just going to say this, like, there's a lot of models out there that don't treat photographers kindly. And then
Mhm.
vice versa. There's a lot of photographers that are like, oh, you're just a model. Like, you're a dime a dozen. I can get anybody anywhere to model for me. It's a collaboration. It always has been. It always will be. It's never, you cannot really do one without the other. And if you are,
Yeah.
like, you're shooting yourself, which is fine. But even that is like, you got to think with both sides of your brain, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's
I'll get
hard
off.
to shoot yourself.
It is.
Um, yeah, I do that a lot just because I have, like, specific ideas and, like, I just wanna do it my own way, but I will say, like, I do a lot of shots with motion where, like, I'll try to be doing, like, a hair flip or, like, throwing something up and it, like using self-timer with those shots is, like, so hard, and a lot of times I'm like, "I wish I just, like, was
I
doing
know.
this with another person because they would get it, like, a lot faster than I will get it by myself." Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, and I will say there are a lot of photographers that, like not to, like I don't know, not to call anyone out, but I feel like a lot of male photographers aren't as good at, like, talking to models as much as, like, I've worked with a couple of models and, they're just like, "Wow, you're so much nicer." Like, every other photographer that I worked with, like, just didn't really talk the whole shoot and just, like, would kind of, like, direct them, be like, do this," and just, like, snap away, and, like, I feel like I kind of will treat either, like, models or clients like a friend, and I'll, like, be like, "Okay, like, what did you get up to this weekend?" Or, like, "What do you do? Tell me about your business," and, like, Yeah, I feel like talking to people during the shoot is so important because if you just kind of treat them like a subject and like, yeah, like the model or the client kind of starts feeling nervous and like they're like, what am I doing with my hands? Like you really got to coach them through it and like talk to them like a friend during it.
And I don't want to call anybody out, but I just have to say the best photographers I've ever worked with are female.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like a subconscious thing, or maybe it's like a spiritual thing, maybe it's like a lady thing. But even when I was living in Texas, like I got the same feedback, like whether we were in Detroit, Texas, if I go anywhere else, like if I'm shooting with someone in another city, I'll try to find another woman to work with. And it
Yeah.
just might be like the woman in me that needs that. But like, I just feel like I can get more comfortable quicker when it comes to women. And that's a personal preference. That is definitely a
Yeah.
personal preference. But like, there are things that women notice that men don't. There are things that are
Yeah.
important to women that are not important to men, and vice
Yeah.
versa. But, like when I first started shooting, I don't know if I ever told this story on the show, but when I first started modeling, and it sounds crazy saying it all the time because I'm like, wow, this is a terrible story. But there was a gentleman that was like in his 40s, like mid 40s, that had been like reaching out to me on Facebook, like all throughout college. I was like 17, reaching out to me. When I turned 18, he reached out again and he was like, I want to shoot you. Like, please, let's do a shoot together. Like, we'll do it for trade. And I was naive enough to say yes. He turned out to be a great guy, turned out to be really nice, but like he invited me to his house. And I was like, okay, like we're just gonna go to this like strange man's house. And I get to his house and he's in a condo. And I go up and like wall to wall, floor to ceiling, naked women everywhere. Like everywhere.
That's so funny. Like posters of the or like
Like
pictures, you mean? Or like
photographs that he had taken. Like his photographs. And like thank God I didn't get like anything. Thank God nothing happened. Like on the other end of it, like we had a good rapport. I was able to, like, he respected my boundaries, but he pushed them. He was always like, can you be a little bit more sexy? Can we do a little less? Can we do a little more? And I'm like, no, no. And it was crazy but how often does this happen where there's like
Yeah.
these guys that are doing photography for the wrong reasons or
Yeah.
whatever, and that shit is real. Like, and when my sister, who's 4 years younger than me, saw the modeling pictures come out, she's like, I want to do a photo shoot. And I was like, no. But in hindsight, I was like, oh, that was really dumb. Why did I do that? So I like rented out the camera from my school and started taking pictures of her and my friends. And every single one of them was like, I want to do a photo shoot. And I'm like, well, first, you're not going to these guys. You're not
Yeah.
going to go to them. So I'll just figure this out and I'll take pictures of you. Like,
That's so funny. Do you
protect
still take
you.
pictures?
I do. I do a lot of the headshot, like photos for the revamp. I work with
Oh,
Dell and
cool.
they help a lot too. But I used to do like shoots and people would pay. I did a lot of maternity shoots, branding shoots, like modeling for portfolio work, photo shoots. But now I really like every time I'm doing photos, it's probably for the revamp, which I
Yeah.
like that it's still there. But I also like that it's not like a hustle for me where I'm like, I need to get
Yeah.
because that's just not where my heart is at. Like I hate editing. I hate it.
Yeah, me too.
It takes me
Editing's
so
not my
long.
favorite.
I am very meticulous about the editing too. I'm like, oh, everything's got to be perfect, which is probably why I don't like it. Like I like
Yeah.
the shooting part, but the editing part, I don't like it, and I refuse to let anybody else do it. So I'm like, okay,
It's hard. Yeah, everyone's like outsourced. I'm like, it's not gonna be good
it's
enough,
not
but
give me
yeah.
what I see. Like I need to edit it, but I don't want to edit it. That's like
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
right. The
but
eternal struggle.
exactly. So that's why I only do it for a couple things, but that's how I
Yeah.
started. And there's a girl gang. They were called the Dallas Girl Gang in Texas that started for the same reasons. They were like a couple of women who were models and photographers that got treated really poorly by their male counterparts. And they started this like huge photography club that did shoots like once a month and people would just squat up. And I was like, wow, it's not just in Detroit. It must be a common theme that we're seeing across the board. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
be less
totally.
creepy, guys. Like, be in it for the art.
Right.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I know you did a little like life altering trip. Tell us a story about your time in Mexico, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, like a year-ish ago, was in Mexico for 6 months. And then before that, before like basically before 2020, I taught English abroad for like 5 years. So I basically chickened out after graduating college and was like, I don't know how to charge people money or run a business. And then I also really wanted to travel and like experience life in another country. So I found out that teaching English in Korea was like really easy as long as you have a degree. Like it just needs like you just have to have a 4-year degree in like anything and they'll take you pretty much.
Interesting.
Yeah, like my degree's in art, so like I had no like education experience.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I basically like taught English abroad for a few years in different countries. I literally ended in China in 2020 and then like had to leave my job like 6 months early because COVID was crazy and like the schools like we're not sure if we're gonna keep having school or not. And like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was
What was that
crazy.
like?
What was that?
What was that like? Well, first of all, being abroad, but then like being abroad, like with the pandemic breaking out, like in China.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, so we had like a 6-week vacation in the winter for like just like the winter vacation. That was like how the in between the semesters.
Sure.
And I was doing like this epic backpacking trip by myself. And like through like halfway through, it like think like there was all these whispers of people were like, oh, there's something going around, but like we hear it's like from seafood, don't eat seafood. And then they're like, oh, there's something going around from like the street food, don't eat street food. And it's funny because like I had like one street food thing and then I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna get it." And like later on, I was like, "Yeah, that didn't matter at all." So yeah, and then it was like over the course of like a few days, like every day it got more serious. And then one day people were like, "Holy shit!" Everything. I don't know. Like it was just like it became more of like an emergency. And then there was one day where like we were in this kind of like touristy town. I met this random student from Germany, and we were just like together and he knew Chinese really well, and there was like a thing going over like a loudspeaker in the downtown, and it was basically like this city is closing at 12 p.m. If you are not like a local resident, you must leave and like go home. Like everybody get out of the city. And we like started buying train tickets online, and we could see like the amount of train tickets that were left. And like within seconds, it was like going down, and we were like, ah, hurry, get it! Like we like got like train tickets home. Yeah, and, like, I was actually gonna stay in China, like, I kind of like, all the Chinese people and my friends were like, "It'll be over in, like, 2 weeks," and I was like, "Yeah, it'll probably be fine," and my mom was like, "You have to get out of there," and, like, I eventually kind of was like, "Okay, fine, I'll come home," but I was almost gonna just stay, and I would have been fine, like, I would have probably just, like, had to stay there for a year, but, like, I loved living in China, and, like, it would have been okay, but, the only thing that was kinda scary was I was like, if I went to a hospital and no one spoke English, that would be frightening. Because, like, yes, like, I wasn't in Shanghai or Beijing, so, like, the English level was, like it just depended on where you were, like, sometimes people didn't speak English.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, but living abroad in general was really cool, like, it felt like every day was, like, a wild new experience, and, like, it felt like I was, like, living in a movie or a video game, and, like, just going to the grocery store would be, like, an adventure. So yeah, I
Oh,
loved it. I would definitely love to do it again. But yeah, basically, I went to Mexico. I mean, I kind of like I was living month to month with a friend. My car lease was up. I was kind of like, okay, I'm like in a good position to like go somewhere right now. I had visited Mexico City for a few days, like a few years before that, and I knew that I liked it. I knew it was like a capital city. There were a lot of foreigners there and English speakers, and I was like, let's try taking my business abroad and like see how hard it is to find clients in another country, which it definitely wasn't easy. And I mean, I didn't make like a lot of money, but I made enough to get by. I mean, the rent there is pretty affordable. Like rent and food is very affordable there. But yeah, I joined a BNI chapter in Mexico City, which was like the most advanced Spanish class I've ever had. And like I sounded like an idiot all the time, but they were like so nice to me.
good.
And yeah, I would kinda, like, work half with locals, half with, I would, like, charge other expats and, like, Americans more and then charge locals less, like, I kind of had, like, 2 tiers, which was confusing because like, it's hard to know what to charge in another country, and after a little
Yeah.
while, I realized I was actually charging, like, not enough in Mexican prices because I had some Mexican photographers being like, "Oh, you can actually charge more," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and, like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that's cra have you traveled abroad a lot, Amanda?
Not to the extent that you have. So, like, I've gone on trips. Like, I went to the Philippines for 3 months, which was
Oh,
really
cool.
impactful after I graduated high school, but never lived anywhere. And it's so intriguing to me because I'm like, I want to. There's like a part of me in my soul that like every other day, I'm like, Labrie, let's just like pack up and go. And he's like,
Do it.
we got stuff. And I'm like, who cares about the stuff? Like,
Yeah.
trash the stuff. We could just let it all go at the end of this next swap or something like that. But it's always been in my heart to like go somewhere for an
Mm,
extended period of time because we don't have kids, like we don't own a
right.
house. We bought our cars, like we can just like drive them somewhere. You know, we lived in Texas for 4 years. So like that was a nice little jump for us because Texas is like a whole nother world compared to Michigan. Like they're like two
Mhm.
different, they're very different. Um, but once I graduated college, Labrie got a job down there. So he was kind of like, "You want to come?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You should think about it." I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And so we packed up and left. And it was like he like got the job. And then within 3 months, we were down there.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, like getting to reinvent yourself. And like, I don't know, there's something really special about like nobody knowing who you are. And you
Yeah.
just being able to be like, this is who I am now. This is who I am today.
Yeah.
This is who I am in the next. And that is one thing that I learned when I was in Texas is like, oh, I can do this literally anywhere. Like I could just be whoever I want to be,
Yeah.
and just be that person. And it doesn't matter if people know me or not.
Yeah, you
Um,
can just reinvent yourself at any time.
there's literally no rules, but like if you never leave, you don't know that. I feel like
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
you're in the same spot, because I felt like I was like running really, really hard, really fast, going up like nowhere. I felt like before I left, I had this version of me, a lot of free stuff, a lot of free work that people would just we're spoiled. I spoiled the shit out of people. It's just in my nature to spoil people. I'm like, oh, it's fine. Oh, it's fine. I'll do it. Just tag me on Instagram. Just,
Yeah.
tell somebody about me, whatever. And it felt really hard to shake that. So when I
Yeah.
left, it was like, oh, like I can be a business owner, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I came back that I was like, oh no, I'm a business owner. But I had to go through some of that stuff. But being away from your parents, being away from your siblings, being away from your childhood best friends that know nothing about your history, like all of those people have a version of you in their
Yeah.
mind. And sometimes when you try to step out of that like binary version of you, people that know you are like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It takes a while for them to like accept it.
Why are you doing that? Like, I don't. And my parents love them to death, but they were like always scared for me. They're like, you're never gonna make any money. You're
Oh,
never gonna
yeah.
do like, because I'm like,
Yeah,
I
if I listened to like my parents, I would have never lived abroad. Like they freaked out when I went to Mexico and Colombia, and like every single time they'd call me and like try to talk me out of it, and I'd be like, "Thanks, but I'm gonna do it." And then it was like, "Fine." I mean, you obviously have to take precaution and like probably not
how did
walk
you it
home too late.
like was it just in your mind to do it, or were you just like,
Yeah, I don't know. Well, like I just like growing up, I'd always be looking at National Geographics and being like, "Oh, like that really far away island in the middle of the ocean looks so cool." And like I always would just like think everything looked cool, but I just like kind of assumed it was like, out of reach. I was like, "Oh, that would be so cool to go there one day, but like I probably won't make it." Or like I just yeah, I didn't like see it for myself. And then, yeah, like towards the end of college, I just started looking into it more and more. And I was like, maybe I'll just do Peace Corps because like that'll for sure get me somewhere. And
sure?
then I started looking at YouTube and there was like all these like videos of people like reading their acceptance letter to Peace Corps. But then I think through that, like related videos for like teaching in English in Korea came up. And I just noticed there were like so many people doing it. And like some of them seemed really smart and some of them like didn't seem that smart. And I was like, if all these random people can do it, like I for sure can do it. And I think honestly, just like watching YouTube videos of like people traveling in Colombia, and there's like all these in-depth videos of like my apartment tour in Medellin and like
Sure.
walking down the street with like a camera and like not that you should like I've never like walked down the street with like a camera with a selfie stick. Like I feel like that shit would get stolen so quickly. In
Yeah.
Colombia, there's a lot of people that like have their phones stolen by like a motorcycle and they just like grab it. It's like I probably still wouldn't do that kind of stuff, but like, I was like, "I think I can, like, live there. I mean, if worst comes to worst and I get something stolen, that would suck." But I was like, "As long as I don't die, like, I'll be okay." And, like
Exactly, like, what's a phone? But I love that you did that, and I'm curious, like, what advice you have for people that are, like, on the edge, because 'cause I'm sure there's a lot of people, including myself, that are like, "How do you even do that?" So, like, what advice do you have for someone that's never left home or never moved out of the country? Just
Yeah.
general blanket advice.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, for sure, like, you have to do it at least once because it really changes your perspective and, like, gives you so many new ideas, and, like, it's crazy, when I moved to Korea, I just started getting, like, a lot of creative ideas that weren't even related to Korea or related to travel, but I think there's something about changing your surroundings that just, like it, like, literally injects you with, like, creative ideas. It's like, "Oh my god, I should make a blog about this," or like, "Oh my god, I should start doing, like, a graphic design course and, like, making a zine about that," or, like, I don't know, I just started getting ideas, and then I would say before anything, just start joining Facebook groups. Like, there's so many like expats of Mexico City, Americans abroad, like Americans in Spain, like expat women in China, like whatever, and you can like niche down and
Mhm.
like whatever race or like religion or like queer people and blah blah, like you can find like any group almost anywhere and just start like looking through, and like you can even be like, hey, I'm thinking of moving here, like would you recommend it for like blah blah blah, or like I think I even did that with Mexico City. I was like, hey, I'm a photographer and I'm planning on moving here, like do you think it's like easy to get clients? And like some people were like, yeah, and then other people were like, fuck
Yeah,
you, American, don't come here. Like you'll get like a mix of every, like you have to just like tune out some comments.
yeah. How
And
do you combat that? Because there's also that piece of, like, how do you honor the culture? How do you, like, not gentrify the space? Like,
yeah,
how do you go in how do you move to another country and also, like, accept and assimilate to a degree, even if you're only gonna be there for, like, a couple years or even, like, 6 months?
yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. And, like, was one thing I do have to say is, like, the only time I've gotten, like, backlash, it was never actually from locals. It was, like, other foreigners that were just like, sometimes it's, like, the British people will be like, "Fuck Americans," or, a lot of times it's not even the so at that point, I'm like, "Whatever, screw you. You're also, like,
You're
being
not
a
even from
foreigner."
here.
Like, I've never once like, literally every Mexican person I met was just like, "Oh my god, you speak Spanish?" Like, if you just, like, yeah, I guess number 1 is, like, learn the language, like, that'll help, and, like, yeah, if you're that American that, like, only speaks English and, like, you're at a place and someone's speaking, like, Spanish to you and you're like, "Do you know English?" Like, that definitely can come across as, like, annoying, so, like, if you learn the language of where you're going, and, like, also, like, in order to learn a language, you have to be okay with looking like an idiot, like, you just have like, yeah, so I think there are some people that are like, they'll never learn it because, like, they just can't, fathom, like, looking like an idiot in front of like, you have to just, like, look dumb in front of people and, like, laugh the whole time that you're speaking, but people will, like, be nice and, like, America is, like, the most judgmental place towards other languages. Like, people come here and, I met this friend in Korea who said she traveled to New York, and she was, like, trying to order a bagel at this, like, coffee shop, and she was speaking in, like, broken English, and I guess the cashier was just like, "Do you speak English?" And, like, I've never received that in other countries. So it's like we're already the worst. So if you go somewhere else, it'll be better. Other than France, I hear France can be. I haven't been there, so I don't know. But
Yeah,
I've just heard
yeah.
stories of people trying to speak French and they're like, like, but it's like that's what America does. Like, so like we're only just as bad as
We're
they
the
are.
same. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, my mom has been in the States for over 20 years, and sometimes, like, her Filipino accent will come out from time to time, and she still gets it. I'm like, "This woman speaks better English than you." Like,
Yeah.
give her 5 seconds, Like, I don't know, people are
Yeah.
weird. I'm like, "This is an American person." Like, she's been here since she was 15. So just,
Yeah.
like, because 'cause she'll be on the phone speaking to her friends in Tagalog and, like, she'll get stuff, like, get shit from people, and it's like,
Right.
"Okay, she can code switch, she can speak multiple languages. You're over here,
Which is like a
like."
superpower to me.
Yeah, like, "Okay, you're over here not, like, speak American,"
Yeah. I
like,
hate that.
"Okay, sir."
Yeah, it's like yeah, I've definitely seen, my friend who's married to a Colombian girl will be, like, speaking to her in the park in Spanish, and, like, some random guy will be like, "Speak English," and it's just like, "How about you learn another language?" Like
And how about you mind your own business? How about like get out of
Yeah,
my conversation? I'm not speaking to you. It's so weird that whole thing that
people are
exists.
just jealous and
It's so
threatened.
weird.
Yeah,
But like honestly, if you're like I went to Italy for like a week. And in that week, I learned so much Italian. I had no like, no previous experience. I was just like, we're gonna go on this trip. I'm gonna be with British people. So
yeah.
like, and there's gonna be some Italian speaking people. So I'll just like follow on their coattails. But like in a day, I was like, I picked up words. I'm like, okay, I can say hello, I could say thank you, I could say goodbye. I was
Mhm.
asking questions. And like it's as simple as that, as being like, how can I be better for this experience so that I'm more, you know, accessible
This
to this
time.
person in
Yeah.
their house. And it was crazy
Yeah.
in that we were in Rome and there was a lot of Filipino people there. And
Oh, really?
I was like, why are there so many Filipino people here? Like, oh, there's a Jollibee. Oh, there's like a Filipino market, a Filipino restaurant. And I was like, oh, the Catholic Church. It
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I didn't know that, and I don't speak fluent Tagalog. I can understand it, like, I can hear it and hear words, but
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, there's a Filipino person," and I was using every word that I knew. I was, like, piecing sentences together, but we were communicating, and I was like,
Yeah, and it's so much fun, right?
"Yeah." It felt very good. It felt very rewarding, and I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, but if you don't try to piece a sentence together, it'll
Yeah,
always feel hard, you know?
yeah,
That's
yeah, and
something to realize.
for anyone who's watching this that does wanna travel and, like, learn languages, definitely Spanish and Italian are, like, the 2 easiest languages to learn, and, like, with Spanish, you have, like, all of Latin America at your access in Spain, and, like and yeah, the people are pretty, like, forgiving, and, like, you can just, like if you just piece together things that don't make sense, and, like, all you really have to learn is, like, how do you say, and then that, and, like, I feel like the first year I taught English in Spain for a year, and, like, I had this French friend who spoke better Spanish than English, and we'd hang out, and I would just be like, "How do you say that? How do you say that?" And, like, that would be our whole conversation, but she, like, thought it was fun, like, she was, like, my Spanish teacher, but just
Yeah,
find out especially if you find, like, an old person, they, like, love, like, teaching, like, younger people. Like, if you find, like, an old grandma and you're just like, "How do you say that?" And, like, they'll be, like, so happy to teach you probably.
that's like my
And they
grand
old people speak slower. What
yeah,
was that?
my grandparents were like that. My Lola, like, we would just ask them. But I think if I could go back in time, which I know that I can't, but this is advice for any of you young people out there that have like grandparents or parents from another country that do speak another language. So I feel like there's a lot of people in the Filipino community whose kids don't speak Tagalog because they
Yeah.
want them to assimilate. And like there's like this narrative going around like, oh, it's a flex for your kids not to be able to speak Tagalog because that means you like made
Ugh,
it or
sucks.
whatever. And so like my advice for young people that are watching with foreign parents is like try to speak their language even if they're unwilling to teach you. You got to be willing to teach yourself. And there's been so many points in my life where like even if I'm like doing a Google Translate with my mom, we'll play around with it and then we'll stop, but I'll never like try to do it verbally, like I always
Yeah,
feel weird feeling stupid. That's like a big thing. Like I'm like, I don't want to feel stupid. And
get
if
Hello Talk. There's an
okay,
there's an app called Hello Talk, and
no.
it's just, like, connects you to with language exchange partners, like, all over the world, and you can either message them, you can send them voice notes, um, or you can even meet like, when I lived in Colombia, I, like, started meeting up with people, and we would just schedule, like, coffee dates or, like, different things, and it almost felt like a dating app that was, like, more language focused and, like
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember before I was moving to Colombia, like, the month before, I just started, like, meeting all these people on this app, and, like, we would send each other voice notes all day because there's so many people that wanna learn English too, and, like, we would just be like, "Yes, you could have your secret, like, Filipino language exchange partners in the app and be sending each other voice notes," and, like, everyone's cool, like, no one's gonna be like, your
You're
Tagalog
trying
sucks,"
to
like
learn something new.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it feels silly. It feels weird. It's a weird part of your brain that like unless you do it, it doesn't get easier. But that's like anything new. That's with like
yeah,
anything that you're
totally.
learning how to do.
Yeah.
You'll feel stupid, but
Yeah, and it's kind of the same with business, like, I liked how before, like, I don't know if you're kinda saying, like, it took you a while to, like, grow into your business, but yeah, it's like, I feel like it's hard just to like be like, okay, I am gonna create this business, and then you like make your packages or your prices or whatever, and then you're like, okay, it's done. And then like I feel like there's like a whole mental aspect that like takes like a couple years to catch up to that. And that's like it's like yeah, it's like you have to like grow into being a business owner and grow into your prices even. Like I feel like when I usually like move my prices up, then I feel like insecure for like a 6 months until I'm like used to my new prices. And like it's harder to sell until you get like used to your prices and you're like mentally backing up like why you charge that much. And like yeah, do you ever feel that way where you like there's like a turnaround time between like making new things happen in your business and like believing in it?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And this is going to be a shocker for a lot of people, but like I feel like I really just started charging people like 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's so funny.
For real, like and it's weird to say, but like now I'm mad that I didn't do it sooner. But
Right.
there was an occasional like photography package I would do here and there, but like speaking, never charge for. Coaching, never charge for.
Mm.
Consulting, never ever charge for. I would pay for the coffee. Like I'd be like, they would be like, let's go grab a coffee. I want to pick your brain. I'm like, cool. I'd pay for it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, what is wrong with me? But I think I needed to go through this. Like I needed to grow through it. And
Yeah.
now, like, even now, like sending out the proposal, like I'm doing something a little different. I'm sending out proposals for like MC packages and like script
Cool.
writing like, oh, you want me to MC? Cool. You want to add a script writer, you want to add content, you want to add da 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 da. And like now I just kind of like I have a template, so I just like close my eyes and hit send. I'm like,
Yeah.
but even that price is not enough because I know it's not enough because somebody else quadrupled the price without even getting a proposal. They were like, "Is this
Yeah.
enough?" And I was like, "Oh, that's what I charge for like my whole squad to come through. I charge 6 people. Like that's my 6-person price with all my other
Wow.
like, huh? You know? Like I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah, well, I feel like I've heard so many like TED Talk speakers say that like they didn't start making the money they made until they just asked for it. Like, there are all these people that were like, "Yeah, I almost did this for free," and then I on the phone was like, "Okay, I'll charge $10,000," and they were, like, so scared, and the person was just like, "Okay," and they're like, "Wow, I almost was just gonna do it for free." Like, it's like no one will just give you the money, which is, like, annoying. Like, people should just, like, offer money if they
right."
know that there's a budget, like, especially if it's a corporate budget, it's like, just say
It's not even
yes, like
your
yeah.
money. But you know what I did notice? I don't know what the shift was. I think I kind of know what the shift was. There was this moment where like I did a thing recently for free and it felt really shitty. Like the
Mm,
experience felt uncomfortable. Like I was exhausted after it. And it was something that I do all the time for free. I do stuff like this all the time. I'm like, why does this one feel so particularly bad? And then I was like, I quit. I'm quitting everything. And my husband was like, you can't quit. Like, stop. And I'm like, okay, well, I quit doing stuff for free. And
yeah,
it was like a moment in my mind where like, okay, well, I quit doing stuff for free. Like,
yeah.
but it's like you said, it's like a language. You have to learn how to speak. Like, these are my rates. If you don't say
Mhm.
that and then put a number behind it, it'll always feel weird to say, you know? And then like that $10,000, like I had a big corporation reach out to me on Instagram. They wanted the revamp community. They wanted me to do some influencing work for them. I'm like, great, but let me do you one better because I don't really do this. Like, I don't really do what you're asking for, but I do this. We had this like beautiful meeting and I sent them like a $10,000 proposal. But I was scared because I was going to charge them 1,000 and then I sent it to my advisors and they were like, well, that's like all of your, like, you're not even covering your expenses. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll send them 5,000. They're like, okay, well, now you're just covering your expenses and getting like this much profit. Charge them 10 and then close at 7. I'm like, okay, ghosted me. They ghosted the fuck out of me. Okay. And I was like, all right, what did I learn from this scenario? That I can write the words and the numbers 10,000 on a piece of paper and send it to somebody. That's what I learned. And if they didn't want it, that's on them. And that's not my
Yeah.
problem. But that doesn't mean that the proposal is wrong. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't, you know? And just doing it, like I was sweating. I was sweating. Sent it to everybody. I was like, "Should I send this?" They're like, "Ship it." I'm like, "Should I send it?" They're like, "Ship it." I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's so hard because it's, like, so much of our jobs, like, include moments like this where we're like freaking out and stressing out and we do all this work to like write a proposal and like ask a billion people how much we should charge and then we like don't even hear back. So it's like so there's so much work that goes into being an entrepreneur that's like unfruitful and like you yeah, it's like you have to do so much like stuff that doesn't even turn out just to get the stuff that does turn out. And like it's like we almost should like charge for all the time that we've wasted
There's
somehow.
admin time.
What was
Yeah,
that?
like it's gonna be $100 an hour for the admin time to write your proposal. No,
Right.
like I will say after that, then I had a template for proposals going forward. And I sent a
Yeah.
bunch of them out. Like, but that was the first one I ever sent out. And AI helped me write it. And like I had a bunch of people review it. And I was like, okay, great. Like this is my template now. Like this is what I'll be
Yeah.
using. And I've been using it ever since for the last 2 months. But like I've closed like 4 or 5 higher end projects. And I'm like, okay, like, I guess I just
That's
gotta, like, put
amazing.
it out there, and maybe that group just wasn't the right group, or it wasn't the right time, or I wasn't speaking to the right person, but I didn't lose, you
Yeah.
know? Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't a loss. I was definitely bummed not to hear anything, and then it was also funny because I was on Live in the D the following week, and the CEO of the company was there. I was talking to, like, some Instagram marketing person, so I was not talking to that person, but I was like, "Oh, I got to," I sent the follow-up email like, "Hey, haven't heard from you. I met your CEO today on live TV. Like, he was great. Like, hit me up if you need anything."
Did they
Still
say
nothing.
anything?
No, but it's
That's
okay.
so
Like,
annoying.
it was
I
one of
feel like
those
they should
things
say
where
something, like, they should just be like, "Oh, like, we realized that" like, I don't know, they should just, like, be straight with you and be like, "Oh, that's out of our budget, but we'll let you know if, like, our budget expands," or,
yeah,
like, it would be nice if they, like, said that kinda
it would
stuff.
have been nice, but maybe like, and I have to think about other people too. Like maybe they got in their feels, maybe he got weird, like, oh, I haven't responded to her. I know that's a real thing. Like response anxiety is real, communication
Yeah,
anxiety is
that's
real. So
true, yeah.
don't hold it against them. And I do think it
Yeah.
was like a huge like learning leap for me because I was like, oh, I can just send a piece of paper that says $10,000 on it and somebody might say yes. But if I don't,
Yeah.
they won't. I never sent a proposal that big after, but there will be a time that I will send
Yeah.
it and
Are
somebody
you
will be
gonna do TEDx Detroit?
like, so I was talking to a couple people that I know. One of them her name is Elizabeth. She's the founder of Link Detroit. She's a PR person. And
Mhm.
she's been coaching me a lot. Like I'll just pass her in bamboo and she'll just give me like PR advice, like literally every time I see her. She actually recommended a really great book called Quitter that I read recently, and it's how to bridge the
Mhm.
gap between your day job and your dream job, which was really good because I was like every other day, I'm like, I'm just gonna quit and be an entrepreneur. And the book's like, no, here's a checklist. Are you ready? Are
Yeah.
you not? I was like, okay. But she was like, I would wait to go on TEDx until you really understand what your packages are and what you're selling, because we talked about the Live in the D thing too. And she was like, it was great for you. I love that it happened for you, but you weren't charging then. You weren't charging for services. So there was no pipeline for you to send people. You sent them to your Instagram and you sent them to the clothing swap. Both were
Mm.
great, but I'm not closing any sales, you know. Not that it was like a marketing thing anyway, like they just reached out and
Yeah.
it ended up working out and it adds credibility to my brands, but like had I had assistant like a pipeline, and had I had my
Yeah.
business together, it might have like closed some sales for me or brought me a new avenue of people that will actually like purchase the product, whatever the product is.
Yeah. Do you have, like,
But
a speaking website?
so I have a website. So I have
Sorry, I'm, like, putting you on the spot.
put me
This is
on the
now your
spot.
consultation.
Put me on blast, girl. Okay, so I got a website. I have things on there. I need a little bit of like an overhaul because when I made it, this was before I was like, selling the services that I'm selling now. So I
Yeah.
just haven't even touched it because I'm taking a business class. I'm getting booked. I'm getting gigs
Okay.
and doing the things that I want to be doing. So like I'm like I will when I have the mental capacity, I will overhaul when I like tweak out some like I need to iron out some of these services a little bit. But like
Mhm.
it exists, but it's not great. It's
Yeah,
good.
just, like have a landing page of, like, videos of you being cool and then like an about me with your clothing swap and you're like speaking and like just have a couple clips up and then just put your like my speaking rates and like once the rates are in, then you have your fucking pipeline. Just like use Honeybook. It's like takes 5 seconds to charge people and then like
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you like Honey? Like I'm using
Yeah.
Square right now.
I use Honeybook because it's easy. Like I looked into like Dubsado and there was like another one for photographers called Sprout
Yeah.
Studio and like you had to take like a whole fucking like semester of courses to learn how to use like it was there was like a Sprout school on YouTube and like all these lessons and I was like, "No, I need to do this in an afternoon, like not 3 months."
Yeah, yeah. I've been
Yeah,
using Square. Does Honeybook charge percentages on your
so
sales?
Honeybook is $9 a month until you make $10,000 and then once you make $10,000, it's $40 a month.
Okay.
And it like you can basically like write proposals with like contracts, invoices. You can even like, you can like separate payments and be like, okay, your first payment is in October and the next one is November, and like they can auto pay it. There's a time tracker on there. There's like a scheduler so that people can schedule like calls or like you could like kind of like a Calendly, but like not quite as robust as Calendly.
All
But
in the same. You know,
yeah.
Tiffany with Twiz Creative, she used Honeybooks, and
Yeah.
she did all my branding for me. So she did my logo,
Oh,
like she did
nice.
my typeface and everything. So like that was really easy for me on the consumer end. And she was been telling me this for a while, but I'll just
Yeah.
shout her out because. But yeah, lately I'm like, oh, I have a sale. Like, what do I have? I got Square on my phone. Like, I'll just like,
No, yeah, you should get Honeybook because it'll tell you, like, how much you've made that year or, like, that month, and then when you do taxes, I just, like, look at Honeybook and I'm like, "Okay, that's what I made." I mean, I guess Square probably is the same thing, but
yeah, Square does it too. And it's on my phone, but I can't send like what I've been doing is like sending a proposal that I write on Canva via
oh,
email.
yeah, that's so difficult to have to, like, do it on Canva. Hell
I'm
no,
like
like
redoing it every time. And then like I'll copy what they purchased and
yeah,
put it in the invoice or in the invoice basically, just so it's like written out, but there's no contract. There's
yeah.
no like I just have like asterisks at the bottom, like this needs to be paid. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
No, literally get Honeybook, it's so easy, slash if you want, I can send you my code, and I think you get, like, 20% off or something, but,
please.
um
Kickback for it too?
what was that?
Do you get a kickback for it
I
too?
think I get like $50 or like I can't remember, but yeah, it's like if you yeah, we both like get like something. I can't remember like what the deal is, but it's just it's so easy. It's like the only one that doesn't have any learning curve. Like you can kind of like learn most of what you need to learn in like an hour watching like a couple
Yeah,
YouTube videos and like
yeah. I need that in my life. And that like there's so many pieces, like the taxes part. Like my CPA was like save 30% for taxes. I was like, 30%? Like that.
yeah. No, it's crazy, but I hear it's like they're yeah, I don't know. I feel like I overpaid in taxes somehow because I know a couple people that like I don't know, their CPAs like find like loopholes or like what and like they had to like pay their CPA kind of a lot, but then they like got the money back, which like not every accountant does. And like I feel like if you find the right accountant, they'll like find you money. And I don't have like a good one to send your way. I've just like heard this from people who I don't know who their accountant is,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I've heard really great things about Mary Barton.
Mary
I'm
Barton.
working with the tax person that my dad works with, which is great. Like they're great, but they're
Yeah.
like super far away. And I think I'm like, they, even in our first session, they're like, when we retire, I'm like, what are you trying to say? Like,
Yeah.
retire when we're retiring, like, we need you forever. Like, you need to,
Yeah,
like,
right.
we're just
They're already
learning how to
planning
do
the
this. What are
exit.
you talking about retirement? So I've been kind of on the hunt and like, yeah, just want to shout out Mary Barton because she seems really dope. And I'm like eyeballing her because,
Okay.
you know, but yeah, the whole, like all of it. I have so many friends that were like, I haven't saved a penny for taxes. And I'm like,
Yeah, I have
"Ooh,
taxes, like, on credit cards that I can't even pay off right now, which is ridiculous, and, like, I've had a couple people be like, "You shouldn't have had to pay that much in taxes," so, yeah, but,
how, what are you getting advised to do?
um, yeah, I don't know, I haven't, like, gotten the best tax advice, honestly, and I haven't, like, worked with, like, an accountant to look at my finances. Like, I haven't really, like, got I yeah, it's, like, for as organized as I am with, like, my clients' pipeline, like, I feel like I've gotten that stuff in check, but I have not gotten my finances in check at all, and I'm very much just winging it, and I, like, probably need to, like,
Get it
eventually get like a finance expert to like help me.
because that's not your forte. It's not your it's not
Yeah,
your expertise. So get a CPA, hit up Mary or somebody, and let them deal with it. It's their problem.
right.
And then you just
Yeah,
get out there, make the money. So it's not like a gray cloud over your head, Like I'm
yeah,
saying this to both of us. I'm saying it to both of us because I'm
yeah.
like, I'm finally making money. And so I'm like, okay, I'm setting 30% aside, but I'm like, is it enough? Is it too much? I feel like I got the wrong business bank account because I need like a $2,000 minimum in there at all times, which I was like, that's
Oh, yeah, that's annoying.
a lot. It's a
I
lot.
wanna say, like, from all the chamber meetings I've been to, there's always, like, flag star people there, and I've just, like, asked them a little bit, and I think they did say that there's no minimum for a business bank account with them, and I was like, "Might have to do that."
Yeah, I think the same with a couple other banks that I've been like chit-chatting with. But I was just like rushing because I was doing the retail boot camp and I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna win this grant. And I need
Yeah,
to put somewhere, I need to open up a bank
yeah,
account and go somewhere. So I need to like set up all the stuff so that the money comes, right? And they're like,
yeah.
yeah, it's a $2,000 minimum. And I was like, okay, I could do that. I'm about to get $5,000. Dummy. Okay, I could do that. I'm about to get you $5,000 from this grant. And then I needed to set 30% of it aside. So I'm like, oh wow, I got $5,000 and I got $1,000 to use left
That's
over.
like I feel like literally grants and scholarships should not be taxed because it's like a fucking gift, like, we should just get to use it.
I should just, and so like I was gonna use that money for a bunch of things. And then what I had left over, I was like, literally all I could do is something that's not even on my list of things to do that I like pitched I was gonna do.
Yeah.
It worked out, but
It's
I
bullshit
really
because there's, like, grants that will give you, like, a laptop or they'll, like, give you something and then you just get to use it, but then if they give you money, it's like you don't get to use all of it, like
yeah. And I think I just was in the wrong bank account because if I would have gone somewhere with no minimum or something like that, like we could use more of it. But I feel very blessed. Like it's in there. I paid off all my bills, like from like the clothing swaps and stuff, and I'm trying to be as debt free as possible. And the money
Yeah,
is coming, like, and so I'm paying off the I'm using my business credit card to pay for my stuff. But it also, I'm like, I need to make my business make more money so it can pay for itself. And I'm like, wow,
right.
we're business owners. Like, God.
Like, apparently I'm learning that, like, if you have an I don't have an LLC yet, I just have a sole proprietorship, but, like,
Hmm.
I'm learning I think if you get an LLC or maybe it's an S corp, but, like or maybe both of them, that if you get one of those, then you can, like you're, like, giving yourself a paycheck, and then, like, your income tax or your self-employment tax or, like, one of them only comes out of, like, what you pay yourself and not out of the rest of it, or, like, there's definitely smarter ways to be doing things, like, I probably need to change from
I
a
need
sole
to learn.
proprietor to something else,
I need to
but
learn, like what the best option is for me because I just did LLC because like that's what
oh, that's
everybody.
probably good then.
I mean, everybody in the world around me is like, oh yeah, I got an LLC. You just like fill out a form. Did you do?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we got our bases covered. That's how I feel. I feel like my business right now, like all the bases are like like I got a
Yeah.
finger on all the things, right? Like so I'm like holding stuff down like this. Like
Yeah, that is how a business is. And then
yeah,
there's, like, a business coach that's like, "You need a better website." You're like, "I can't be bothered right now." Like, yeah.
I hired you to help me, not tell me what to do. Like
Right.
or make me feel stressed out. Yeah, I like there's so many things, but it's a joy to do it because I'm like, oh, this is like I'm getting good at it. I'm getting good at the language of business, I
Yeah.
think, and I'm learning how to talk business, like speak and like negotiate and stand up for my rates and, and send invoices like within seconds. Cause I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like this is how I operate when I'm working at my day job. Like I try to
Mhm.
respond as soon as possible. I'm like, I could do this for me. Why don't I not do this?
Yeah. Do you do any sales at Bamboo really or not really?
I mean, I don't like solicit for sales at Bamboo, but people like will come up and talk to me. And I would say most of the people that I am getting business from are outside of Bamboo, but
Yeah,
like
or I mean
they're coming in and out of Bamboo. They're like Bamboo
yeah.
adjacent.
But I mean, I'm curious, like, at your day job for Bamboo, like, are you ever, like, signing people on and, like, are you making sales for Bamboo ever?
Like, what do you mean? When
Like,
I'm
getting new, like, people to sign up for, like, co-working space or, like, that kind of thing. Because like I feel like you can kind of almost use that to translate into like your own like like because
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that like for their day job they were making these really big sales and then like it made it easier to do it for their business or like
Yes.
I've
I'm
like heard
the
of people that
salesperson here. So
what
I'm
you
doing
are a salesperson there?
yeah, so I'm doing all of the sales, not all of the sales, but a majority of the sales I'm managing. So that is a big part of it too. I'm like, oh, I just sold this. It's like a $4,000 office. Why can I
Yeah.
not? And they're doing it for a year. Like I can also do that for my business. So it definitely gave me
Yeah.
confidence.
And
And
that's
I'm
cool
like,
that you can see like what people are willing to spend because yeah, sometimes it, like you feel like there's no money out there and like no one wants to spend anything. And then I hear from other people in like more like I don't know, like corporate jobs that they're like, oh well, this person spent 4,000 and this person spent like 10,000. Yeah, and it's like I guess
there's
like
money out there. There's so
yeah,
much
you can
money
use
out
that.
there. And people are spending it on the weirdest stuff. And it could be spent on you. And it just needs to be in the right hands, spoken in their language and at the right time. And
Yeah,
it's like the only way you could do that is like just shipping out proposals as much as possible. But
yeah,
there's money out there.
yeah. And I hear people say that like if every proposal you send is a yes, then your prices are too low. So that like 10,000 one getting rejected just means that your prices aren't too low, which is like kind of a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. My sister said something to me once that like changed the way my brain works. She's like, of course everybody wants to work with you. You're free.
Yeah, yeah.
You like you do whatever they ask you do. And she went on and on, but she was like, they do what you do whatever they ask. You don't charge them a penny. You take care of them and you spoil them. Like, why wouldn't they want to work with you? And I was like,
But this can be good for like I feel like there are times when if you ever feel like just to anyone who's watching, if you feel like unsure of yourself, just like do a few free projects because once you get like busy while being free, then it's easy to transition that like busy free to like busy paid. Like and that's what I did when I first started my business is I just offered like a month of free photography on like I just posted in a few Facebook groups and I was like, "Hey, I'm offering free photos for the month because I'm building my portfolio."
yeah,
And I got, like, like, overbooked, like, I was just, like I had, like, a photo shoot every day for, like, 30 days, and I was like, "Wow, that was kinda crazy." But then it was, like, so easy to, like, make sales right after that because there are people that missed the cutoff that were like I was like, "Oh, I, like, booked out this month, but I can take you next month if you're, like, you know, able to afford," and then, like, a lot of them were like, "Okay," like and, like, I still charged pretty low because it was the beginning of my business, but, like, yeah, I feel like it's hard to just, like, start charging and gain momentum right away, and, like, it's easy to go from, like, a free momentum and just, like, roll into a paid momentum, if that makes
yes,
sense.
I like that point. I really agree with that. And I feel like something that you said that I really liked is you said, I'm doing free photography for the month. You put a timeline on it. You set the expectations,
Mhm.
you created the boundary. You're like, I'm doing it for 1 month. It's not like you're like, I'm doing free photography for forever, or I'm just doing free photography, period. And then people can make up the boundaries. Well, you said
Yeah,
free photography, you said I'm doing free photography for the month. And that's like a big difference because then the expectation is after the month is over, it's not free anymore. Right?
yeah,
And so, like, that kind of language is very important to use when it's coming to, like, offering free stuff. Like, this offer is available for 30 days. And I've been putting this on my Canva packages. Like, if you don't respond in 30 days, I'm gonna have to requote you. Because
it should be less than 30 days. I mean, I don't know how speaking engagements go,
yeah,
but, like, my photo coach says to give them, like, 2 days. I don't know, like, but I like, she's like, "Give them 48 hours," but, I mean, I don't know, speaking engagements with, like, corporate, like,
it
the
takes a
media
little
can
bit
really
more
take, like
time. Yeah, more
yeah,
people to go through, more time. But, like, 30 days
like,
feels
2 weeks,
comfortable
I
for
think.
me, but a lot can happen in 30 days. Like, I could get, like,
Yeah.
4 more speaking gigs that, like, take my
Right?
price up.
No,
Like,
that's way
it's a
too
lot.
long for you to be, like, on the hook without any deposit, like, I feel like 2 like, I don't know, or just be like, you know, like, first come, first serve if someone else books me in that time, like,
Yes.
sorry, but
Yeah, like
another
exactly. So those are like all of these things for like our newbies out there. Like it's the language of business. And
yeah.
I think that's what I want to call this talk because I
Yeah,
feel like it comes with practice. Like you have to practice saying things like this proposal is no longer valid. Like I'll have
yeah,
to quote you, or I'm no longer available, or my prices have gone up. Like you
yeah,
can only say those things and get good at saying those things by saying them. And you can only
Yeah.
learn another language by actually like expressing yourself. Do you know Laura Khalil by chance?
No.
She's an amazing business coach. She really helps like B2B businesses and like scale up their their proposals. So she's talking about
Yeah,
like $10,000, $100,000 proposals and up.
that's
But
so
she
cool.
says charge the price that doesn't make you flinch. And if you flinch,
Yeah.
like practice saying it, you know,
Yeah.
and just keep doing it. And I'm like, interesting. But I still flinch at like little stuff. I'm like,
No, I mean, yeah, I still kind of am like, there's definitely been times where I like sent a quote and I was like really nervous and they were like, okay, no problem. And I was like, really cool, because I thought that was gonna be a problem. But yeah, and then I know we're probably like way over our time, but
it's
like
fine.
I like wanted to touch on like one thing that you just
Yeah.
said when you were talking about like boundaries and stuff. It's like I'm realizing that it's like you have to like be so proactive about setting your boundaries, or like yeah, other people like set them for you, but also it's like you pretty much don't know your boundaries until you encounter things that piss you off, and like you just have to learn as you go. It's like there's been a lot of clients that have like inspired clauses in my contract. It's like, oh well, that went horribly, so now I'm going to start putting in my contract that like this is not an option. Yeah, so it's like you kind of have to like write down everything that goes, like keep a journal and like write down everything that you're like that's going to be in the contract. And like yeah, just like clients that expect certain things that I was like, well, shit, I didn't tell them that they weren't gonna get that. I just never had anyone ask for that before. And like you had to kind of like decide, like, yeah, it's hard to like know in
That is
advance. Like, yeah.
I love that, and, like, never feel bad for setting the boundary. Like, I have, someone that I work with, I don't know if she'd wanna, like, me to say her name, but basically, she's getting overbooked, which is good, and
Mhm.
she sent an email to myself and the rest of her clients. It was like, "Hey, I'm, like, overbooked for this month. All communications need to come via email. Anything that comes through text, Slack, XYZ will not be counted as, like, professional communications and will not be considered, like" because I'm sure that with all of the clients that she has, maybe they were texting, maybe they were calling, maybe they were, like, Slack messaging, and she's like, for then going forward, like I will not be responding to XYZ. Like if you need to book something, here's the link here. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I will follow accordingly because I want to work with this person. We already have an agreement set up for the rest of the year. So I'm like, I'll communicate with you via email. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like mad. I was like, okay, great. Like I love that. I love to know that this is how you want to be communicated with. Like hell yeah, let's fucking go. But I have moments like that too where I'm like, man, I should say something about that. And then I just don't
Yeah.
feel bad about it instead of just saying something and owning it and being like, this makes me more comfortable. And we're going to do
Yeah.
it, you know?
Same, because it's easy to just like start like getting bad at messaging people back, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just overbooked." And then like you kind of like make excuses and apologies, and then you just like maybe don't message people back, and they're like, "What?" And like, yeah, you should just be proactive about it and like set a boundary or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Set the
yeah,
tone. And it's like, okay, they'll respect you more for it. Great.
yeah,
Now I know. Now I know. And I won't guess which form of communication. But even with like, okay, I only offer XYZ, return the photos are going to get returned within 2 weeks. Like, do not ask for that. Like, I know there's like a huge thing in the photography community where it's like, if people ask for their images before they're ready, like photographers get mad, like very mad. I don't know why,
yeah.
but I
I'll
feel like,
usually be like, if you need like one for like something important, then like let me know in advance that you need like one earlier. But like, yeah, some people will be like, can I get them all earlier? And I'm like, no, unless you want them to be like crappy, like they're not done yet.
I had, like, there was an era where I was following a lot of like photographers on Instagram, and there was like one like series of months where everybody was like shit posting like text images where it was like, if you call me before my photos are done and you request them, like I'm charging you. And
That's
you're
so
not
funny.
gonna get the photos. And I was like, what is happening to you people? Why are you so
That's
mad?
so funny.
But they were mad. People were mad. And it was like all kinds of people. And I think it was just like a season where people are like, I
Yeah,
need this now. Like, it's like, okay, you gotta like
interesting.
set the parameters.
Yeah,
I learned a lot from that too. And I would just communicate at the beginning, like, expect your images within 2 weeks. If
yeah,
you
right.
no, but 2 weeks max, maybe sooner, maybe later, but like for sure within 2 weeks. Like, you know. So
Yeah.
business is weird. business is weird, but it's cool. And it's
Yeah.
fun because you get to learn stuff. But I don't know. There's like it's a whole language of I don't know, of all of the things. Anyway, so before we go, I have two more questions. One, where can everybody find you? What are all your socials?
Yes, I'm pretty active on Instagram, which is just like underscore Lauren Giuliani. That's Giuliani. I don't know if you like link things to the YouTube video, but and then my website is just laurengiuliani.com. I'm like trying to be active on LinkedIn. I'm barely on Facebook, but you can find me both of those places as well.
Awesome. Any like is there are you doing a newsletter or a blog series that people can subscribe to?
I'm like I wanna get more into blogging, like, I haven't been doing it regularly enough, like, I have, like, some very spaced out blog posts on my website, I should do it, like, every month, but yeah, if you wanna check out the handful of blog posts I've written there on my website,
Yay.
and, yeah, like, I also am, like, a little sporadic I have, like, an email list of, like, subscribers and past clients, so if anyone wants to get on that email list, they can actually do that on my Instagram, like it just like in my link tree, it'll say like subscribe to emails. I am very irregular. Like I'll send out like a couple in a row and then I'll like not send them for like 2 months or 3 months. So it just like
If you want
depends.
the
But
Easter eggs and you want the promos when they're happening, subscribe.
yeah, it's like sometimes it's like I'll have like a promo or a mini session and then I'll like send out dates and then I might not like send anything for like a while. But if you want that next mini session, get on the list.
Get on the list. Okay, amazing. All right. So my last question is, what final piece of advice do you have for someone listening, whether they're in photography or want to move abroad or want to start a business? What comes to mind and what do you want to share with them?
Yeah, I guess like a lot of things are scary. Like moving abroad for the first time was kind of scary and like starting a business was scary and like I just like thought that I couldn't do it. But yeah, you basically just have to like try like do things for free for a little bit to learn, assist other people. Like if you're a photographer, like try to like assist another photographer even for free for like a few times or whatever. Yeah, because photographers always want, like, assistance even just to, like, film the behind the scenes, like, on their iPhone of what's happening because it's hard for us to do it. So, if you're trying to get into photography, you could honestly, like, offer a photographer, like, "Hey, is there any way I can be your assistant, like, get BTS content of y like, for you, just so that I can, like, watch what you do?" Like, a lot of photographers will be down for that, and then you can learn and, like, offer things for free for a little bit, and then just, like, start charging, and just, like, start doing it, and yeah, I mean, it's scary, but once you start, you'll be like, "Okay, it's not, like, that crazy, it's not that out" like, everything seems more out of reach until you just do it, so,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. Lauren, thank you so much for being here today. This was such a fun conversation. Now I'm gonna like get off this call and be like, let's move to Asia and like just
Yes, do
my
it.
husband, I'm like, you want to move abroad? Like he's gonna be like, who did you talk to? I thought
Yeah,
we were gonna like hunker down and start a business
yeah.
here. I'm gonna be like, no.
You can just, like, charge expats in Manila, and if you want, you can just, like, give free photos to locals, like, that can be your, like, way of being, like, not an invasive, like,
I love it.
expat.
I like it a lot. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for your time, your energy, your expertise. I am excited for the next networking event I'll see you at. I always love
Yes.
seeing you out and about. And to all of you, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you're looking for something to do on Halloween, the Counterculture Computer Club. I've not been on the show the last week, so I haven't gotten to explain it. So Rick and I got the keys to Ideation Orange, and we've curated the entire gallery. We did our grand opening last weekend, and we're doing a big closing gallery on the last Saturday of the month. So that's October 26th. It's a Halloween party. You'll get to see the art. There's going to be visuals. There's going to be like DJs. I might be doing my first ever DJ set. Breezy's really pushing me.
What?
Uh, we're thinking about the name DJ Candy Crush, so we'll see if that's not like trademarked or anything like that.
That's
But
awesome.
but Tickets are $50. Part of the proceeds are going to a nonprofit, the Live Outreach, for their toiletry drive for the month of November. The theme is monochromatic masquerade. So all one color with a mask. It could be any color, but you'll become a part of the installation so people can project onto your outfit. It's going to be dope. It's going to be sweet. So please come through. We would love to have you. And then, yeah, we'll be back next week with another Let's Glow show. Until then, stay super fly and charge your worth.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you for having me.